sequel to The Host? Possibly. I don't want to say yes, absolutely, because if there is one, it will be a while from now. I have a lot to do between now and then. But I do have an outline for 2 and 3. I think I would do it in a trilogy. And I mean, I want to get to it. I really like these characters a lot. But the problem with this world of the souls is that people are gonna die. And I hate knowing that. I hate knowing who I have to kill. So that kind of slows me down. That would be what would stop me if I was stopped. Okay. After reading The Host and seeing how Wanderer is the main character and the story is mostly from her perspective, why wasn't the book called The Soul, since she is the soul and Melanie is a host? The reason it's called The Host is because it is from her perspective. She has had the experience of being a soul many, many times. But this host is the one that changed the rest of her lives. So for her, the title is The Host because that is the event that changes her story. All right, I like this one. If The Host is made into a movie, who, famous actors and actresses, would play the main characters from the book if you got to choose? I don't get to choose, but I never get to choose. But sometimes that works out for the best. In this case, I think Matt Damon would be really cool, Jared. Matt Damon. Because Jared just needs to exude this essence of like, he can do anything. If there's something that has to be done, he is the guy to do it. And we all know Matt Damon is that guy. My favorite Ian right now is James McAvoy. Just because I'm kind of in love with him. I don't have a Melanie, and that would be really the hardest part. Can you imagine playing Wanderer/Melanie? I mean, I don't know how it can be done. And so we'll see if it can be made into a movie. Maybe there's some writer who has a really great concept of how that can be done, but I can't see it personally. Okay, moving on. I pulled a couple of Twilight questions because I know that you guys are all interested in that. How much influence have you had on the making of Twilight the movie? What do you feel is right and wrong? I've had a little bit of influence. I got to go over the script a couple times, and they really did take most of my notes and changed a couple of potentially really retarded things in the original script. I mean, overall, the script was really good. There was just a couple things where I'm like, really? That couldn't possibly happen. And vampires don't bleed. So, you know, fixed a few little things. I got to have a little bit of input with the actors, which was fun. I've been on the set, although mostly just to enjoy myself. I really haven't changed anything while I was there. But I feel like I've got a really good sense for the movie, and I think it's going to be what it should be. You know, we've seen the trailer, and I've seen a little bit more footage than that. And everything looks like it should. You know that feeling of Bella and Edward, the tension between them. I think they've got it right, so I'm really excited. Questions where I'm like, no, so I can correct them. Stephanie, at first you said that you would jump off a building if they didn't pick Emily Browning for Bella. Do you still feel that way? Well, I have not jumped off a building. So, actually what I said was, I would jump off a building if they cast one of those horrible it actors/singers to bring in a crowd who loves, you know, fill in the blank. And they did not do that with any of the characters. They picked almost all, well, relatively unknowns. They didn't go with any big names, but they went with really good actors, which is what my dearest hope for the movie was. So I was really pleased with that, and I'm not jumping. My 13-year-old son is dying for you to finish Midnight Sun. Do you plan to do that? Yeah, that's my next project. I have to do that, or people will hunt me down. Okay, last Twilight question, and then I have some writer questions. In Twilight, your theme played off Jane Austen. In New Moon, you related to Romeo and Juliet. And in Eclipse, you played off Bronte's Wuthering Heights. Do you have a theme for Breaking Dawn? I have 2 books that will be featured in Breaking Dawn. I'm not going to tell you what the second one is. But the first one is A Midsummer Night's Dream. So, make of that what you will. Okay, these are writer questions now, because I have found that about 95% of the people who come to my signings have a desire to write, and about 50% of them have the intention to be a writer. So I try and answer questions that will help writers. Who or what has been your biggest critic and why?
2.
I think hard question, apparently. I think that most people are the same as me. My biggest critic is me. And it's because we all have our insecurities. When I wrote Twilight, I did not know if it was okay or if it was total crap. And when I sent it out, I really had no sense of if they'd be laughing. Like I'd get a rejection letter back that just said, ha 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 ha, all the way down the page. So I was really shocked when people liked it. I didn't have a sense, and I still have a difficult time judging my own writing, and I think that everybody has that difficulty. And the reason I bring that up is because I would like to encourage you to believe in your writing. If you love to reread your stories, that means something. If you get excited about your characters and think about them in the middle of the night and when you first get up in the morning, that means something. Trust yourself as a reader. If you really like it, there's probably something there. Now, if you can't bring yourself to finish it and you're bored and the characters aren't doing anything, there's probably a story you should quit. But if you are addicted to the story, other people will be too. So keep going. In your books, do they tend to get longer or shorter or stay the same? Generally shorter, but the host actually ended up longer, and I felt kind of proud about that. How do you stay so motivated to sit and write whole novels? The bigger problem is tearing myself away from them. If it's really hard to force yourself to work on a story, I don't know, sometimes I wonder if that's a story to skip, or maybe there's some other issue going on, but I don't feel like it should be work. Writing should be the fun part. That should be the part that's like, my kids are about video games. You should be waiting for that opportunity to be able to write again. When you're at the store, you can't wait to get home and start typing. That's how I think the experience should be, because writing is fun. All the other aspects of being an author are not quite as fun, like talking to 1,000 people at once. Not quite as fun as writing. So hopefully, if you want to be a writer, you really love that part of it. I really respect the fact that your books are clean. Do you get a lot of pressure to make them more smutty, quote unquote? If so, how do you handle this? I did get some of that in the beginning, and that's an aspect that you could put at anything. Did you get pressure to make it more edgy? Did you get pressure to do this or that? If you have your book getting edited, you will be pressured in some point or another. And one of the really tricky things is knowing when to bend and listen to your editor and say, okay, they've got a lot of experience, maybe they know what they're talking about. And when to say, no, this is my story and this is how it's supposed to be. When it's a values issue, for me, that's a really easy one to just say, this is how it is. And luckily for me, I've gotten to a point where they can't do that anymore. So it's kind of nice, like, if they say, no, we want this, I'm like, no. But I do try and listen to my editors, because I know that it's hard to you need that distance from it, you need someone else's hand. But because we're going to think positive, when your works are in the hands of an editor, be sure you stand up for the things that are most important. I had a rough road in the beginning trying to stand up for myself, but remember, it's your story and you know what it needs to be. Okay, by the crowd gathered here today. Do you have anything you'd like to say to your male readers? A, you rock. B, you are my favorites. C, you are more likely than anyone else to get a response back on MySpace. And D, you are awesomely brave to show up with 909